make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey, everybody. Hold on one second. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Yeah, some shenanigans happened right as I was about to come on stream. There we go. Anyway, welcome to the Gen X file pop culture from the point of view of the generation from which it was created. And that would be Gen X. I mean, I'm sure there are other people that are going to have a claim to that, but this is my show, and I am Gen X, and I am claiming it. Thank you very much. There's my rabbit hole back. Okay. All right. So if you disagree, you know, if you're a millennial or if you're a Gen Z or, you know, God forbid, a baby boomer, feel free to start your own show and do millennial files or boomer files or whatever, Gen Z. But this is Gen X files, and I'm going to lay claim to that. Let's see, not shenanigans. Hey, Crenshaw, what's up? Good to see you. Good to see you. Tonight, we're going to talk about now. I do a lot of writing, kind of like exercises, you know, try to improve writing all the way around. Yeah, and click it. Okay, here we go. Anyway, but one of the things that you see over and over again is the whole idea of pantheons in mythology and how they show up over and over again in pop culture. You know, as a comic book fan, we've seen Thor show up in quite a huge way in Marvel, but he's also shown up in other comic book companies. We also seen a version of Hercules in Marvel, which is two different pantheons there. But there's also exist in Marvel Comics also members of the Egyptian pantheon. They're not used very often at all. I think I didn't look it up, but I know that they were in my Marvel book of characters. So I'm assuming they were used sometime. Loki is used a lot, especially in Marvel Comics. MCU really loves Loki. He has been all over the MCU. But why the pantheons are, they're in public domain. They are wide open. And you don't have to like give them backstories. You don't have to give them power sets. They already have them come prepackaged. So it's basically Switch Pantheon has the best characters and the best utility for your fiction. If you choose to use one of these pantheons, which one is the best? And now my vote landed with Norse, I believe. Let me make sure, see what was second and third. Now, let me see here. All right. So the Norse was 54% from 13 votes. Greco-Roman was 31%. Egyptian was 15%. I used Hindi. I thought Hindi might get more interest, but I should have used Celtic because Celtic was a write-in. Had a write-in vote for Celtic. But we're going to, there's also another pantheon I didn't list, but Mesopotamian has a lot of interesting characters. We're going to go over a few of these tonight. I'm going to use the videos of a guy. Make sure I get his name right. Jake W, but it's spelled Doubleyooo. He's a amateur animator, but he makes pretty funny videos. But he's going to help me tonight. So tonight we're going to start talking with the Norse mythology. He's going to help me out here. There we go.
Hi there, have you ever wondered where stuff like trees and birds come from, but most people's explanations aren't metal enough for you? Boy, do I have a religion for you, said first millennium pre-Christian Nordic civilization. My name's Jake, I came here to kick ass and talk about Norse mythology, and I'm all out of ass. So first there was just a hot place, a cold place, and a whole lot of nothing in between. But then they started leaking and mixed their elemental juices together to make a big giant named Ymir, and he sprouted a bunch of kiddos called the Jotnar. Then a cow showed up from somewhere and licked a dude into existence, and then he had a kid who had 3 more kids named Vili, Ve, and Odin, and they were like, wow, this universe is kind of boring, huh? So they killed Ymir, and he dropped approximately 6.585 sextillion tons of materials, which they used to build a whole planet. But then the Jotnar were like, hey, it was kind of a dick move for you guys to kill our dad, then build a planet out of his corpse. Huh? Oh, hey, sorry guys, yeah, we can't hear you over this big wall we built, this big wall that encircles the entire Earth. Yeah, I don't know, can't help you, bye. And then they made some people out of sticks, and this guy Heimdall came and banged a whole population of them into existence. Then they decided Odin got to be in charge of everything, and in true chief deity fashion, he had a bunch of kids from various sexy goddess ladies, like Bragi, who's into writing poetry, Vidar, who likes avenging his father's death at the hands of a giant kaiju wolf, hypothetically, and Thor, whose main hobby is killing Jotnar, and pretty much exclusively that, but he's very good at it. And then of course there's Balder, who's a super cool guy that everyone likes, literally everyone. See that squirrel? He's tight with Balder. That rock over there? Balder helped him move his couch last week. Sometimes he has bad dreams, but don't worry, it's probably fine. Nothing bad will ever happen to Balder. Meanwhile, Odin decided he wanted to know how to do smart people things like reading and destroying people at trivia games. So he traded his eye to a guy named Mimir for a sip of his magic pool water, and then he vibed out on a tree for a few days trying to memorize the alphabet. And once he was super duper smart, he knew secret magical techniques for predicting the future. Alright, let's see what this one says. Don't make a sacred blood pact with a guy named Loki. He will betray the Aesir, and then he and his children will bring about the end of the world. Shit. So the Aesir tracked down Loki's kids, each of whom bore a striking resemblance to their mother and father. Jormungand didn't seem very threatening, so they just tossed him in the ocean, but then he hit a fairly significant growth spurt. Oh hey, a tasty looking tail. Ow, pain flavor. Then they sent Helen to Niflheim and put her in charge of managing all the dead people, except any valiant warriors who Odin calls dibs on. He keeps that at his place, you know, just in case he ever needs them for something. Fenrir was just a cute puppy, so a guy named Tyr volunteered to take care of him, but then he turned out to have a similar metabolism to his brother, which posed an issue. So the Aesir commissioned some dwarves to make a super strong magical rope out of various non-existent materials. Hey, Fenrir, we were just thinking of doing a fun little game with you, where we tie you up with this rope, just to see if you can break out of it, you know, because you're so big and strong. Are you guys trying to imprison me for all of eternity? What? No, first of all, I am offended you would even say such a thing. We're just trying to play around here, you know, have some goofs. Okay, well, just to be safe, why don't we have one of you put your hand in my mouth, and then I'll let them go once you set me free. Yeah, sure, that'll work. That sounds fine. That sounds great. Let's do that. Alright, yeah, I'll do it. And wouldn't you know it, Fenrir was unable to break free, and Tyr was partially dismembered. Well, guys, I guess we should all give Tyr a hand. Hi, thanks for watching my video. If you thought it was super fun, then maybe you can go check out my other mythology videos, or some of my silly cartoons that I sometimes make. And if you really want to go the extra mile, try that.
Okay. That was a rough, like, I had to speed it up. Otherwise I wouldn't have got through the show. But anyway, he's worth checking out, the slower version. But it's hilarious. He's got a really great script writer. So anyway, so let's in a slower manner go over Odin, who is the All Father, the god of knowledge and war, associated with wisdom, poetry, and magic. Usually in these pantheons, there's the big guy at the top, the guy who everybody kind of defers to. In the Norse mythology, that happens to be Odin. Now, Odin basically sacrificed an eye so he could see the future and have all knowledge. He's got crows that kind of like are his eyes and ears in the world. He has a spear that's pretty badass, and overall he's pretty powerful god. Aegir, god of sea and storms, linked to rough ocean waves. Aegir is probably the equivalent to Poseidon in the Greek. The Balder, god of beauty and poetry, symbolized by a gem-encrusted silver chalice. Now, Balder is interesting. Balder is immortal until he isn't. And he's just beloved by everybody. He doesn't really have a parallel in other mythologies per se. He's really unique to Norse. Now, some people try to compare him to Jesus Christ and try to say he's a type of Christ, or that some way, shape, or form that they borrowed Jesus from Baldur. But the times don't really line up. Needless to say, there are other mythologies of an immortal being that's reborn in the past. Jesus is the only with a historical record that and proof, but Baldur is a very interesting character. He's very unique to Norse. Freya, goddess of fertility and love, symbolized by the falcon. Frigga, goddess of birth and fertility, represented by a cat. Heimdall, god of watchfulness and loyalty, symbolized by curling musical horn. And Hel, goddess of the underworld, depicted with a rotted face. Lovely. I'm sure she's great at parties. Loki, god of thieves and trickery, symbolized by a flame. Sif, goddess of war, represented by an upraised sword. Thor, goddess of storm and thunder, symbolized by a hammer. Tyr, god of courage and strategy, symbolized by a sword. Also, the guy lost his hand in Fenrir's mouth. There's quite a few other ones, like Surtur, god of fire, giants, and war, associated with a flaming sword. Sif, goddess of war, represented by an upraised sword. Njord, god of sea and wind, represented by a gold coin. Now, Forseti, god of justice and law, represented by a bearded man's head. Now, the one thing about Norse mythology is that the goddesses seem to be more powerful in the Norse mythology than they do other pantheons. They all seem to while the other pantheons have goddesses with like more soft power, the Norse mythology seems to have the goddesses that have like a significant influence. Like Hel is over the underworld. That's a goddess, Hel or Hela. And so, if you're going with the Norse mythology, you get more powerful goddesses. The All-Father is superior to a lot of the other ones, a lot of the other head figures, in that he has some self-sacrificial qualities about him. Thor is the big guy. Thor is the big popular one, and Loki definitely makes a great villain. Now, Loki's not as villainous in the mythology as he is in like Marvel Comics. But as a matter of fact, the Avengers were formed to take on Loki. So Loki kind of created the Avengers. That's the Avengers movie using him as the main villain. Kind of made a lot of sense with comic book continuity. But anyway, so that's the Norse mythologies. Now that's the one that everybody picked in the vote. So it seems to be very popular. Now, Norse mythology also seems to be popular with tree huggers. The tree huggers seem to love Norse mythology for some reason, which is weird because the Vikings were like alpha male, toxic, toxic masculinity. You read the Norse stories and there's no like tree hugging in them, like the opposite of tree hugging, like the world tree. I guess the world tree might be why they think it's more green or, left-wing nut job communist friendly. But the Norse, while adopted by the more leftist ideologies, actually is kind of like probably the most based of the pantheons, which makes it kind of odd that the tree huggers seem to be so love with it. But I guess they don't read it. They don't read the actual mythologies. They just like aspects of it. They just adapt it because it makes them feel a certain way. But anyway, so that Norse mythology was in first place. The second place was the Greek mythology. So help us out, Mr. Jake W.
Hey, have you ever wondered why things exist? Well, a few years ago, there were some people over here who had answers to that question, and they made poems and bowl art about it. And now they have a pretty active fanfiction community. I'm Jake, and welcome to this is Greek mythology with Jake. Okay, so for a while there wasn't much going on, but then a few primordial deities started popping up. Earth was lonely, so she sprouted a bunch of sentient geographical features and also a sentient sky, and he was her favorite, so he got to be in charge of everything. And they had a bunch of kids together, but some of them were ugly, so their sky dad put them in jail. And that made Earth Mom sad, so she told her normal-looking kid Cronus to stab him. But nobody invented knives yet, so he just opted to neuter his dad with gardening tools. And Sky Dad was so embarrassed about this that he decided to stop being important, and then Cronut got to be in charge instead. But Sky Dad's still up there being the sky, I guess. And Earth Mom was like, hey, are you gonna let your ugly siblings out of jail now? Because that was kind of the main reason I told you to stab your dad. But Cronus didn't hear her because he was too busy planning his incest wedding. But then he realized, oh man, what if I have kids and they find out how awesome it is to usurp your father? And nobody invented birth control yet, so instead of not procreating with his sister, he decided to just eat his kids whenever they popped out, and that took care of things pretty well. But that made his wife's sister sad, so by the time she was about to have her 6th kid, Zeus, she devised a really smart plan. Hey, can you hand over our newborn son so I can cannibalize him like I did with our last 5 children while you helplessly watched? Sure, here you go. Here is our son, our newborn son, who I just gave birth to, and am handing over to you right now. Oh, thanks. But little did he know, it was actually just a rock. The real baby Zeus was taken to a cave where a goat raised him, and they put on an EDM festival outside so nobody would hear him making baby sounds and stuff. Once Zeus grew up, he was like, you know what sounds fun? Usurping my father. So he snuck some tummy ache juice into Cronus' coffee, and that made him puke up all his kids, who are now fully grown gods. And Zeus was like, hey, wanna usurp our dad? And they were like, yeah, that sounds fun. And so began the epic 10-year battle known as the Titanomachy. But we don't actually know what happened for most of it because the ancient Greeks forgot to write it down. Or they did, but it was all in the Library of Alexandria or something, I don't know. But after fighting for a while, Earth Mom went to Zeus and was like, hey, while you're fighting this celestial war, could you maybe let your ugly uncles out of jail? Because that was kind of the main thing I was hoping to get out of all of this, and they'll probably hook you up with some cool weapons and stuff. And Zeus and his brothers were like, okay, so they went down to Tartarus to set free the Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires. Nailed it. And they were like, thanks, and gave them a bunch of dope loot. And then they were finally able to kick their dad's ass, and they threw him and a bunch of the other titans into god jail. And Cronus was like, I'm realizing the irony of my actions because my dad suppressed his children, which led to his downfall, and then I did the same thing to my children, which yielded similar results, and now Zeus is probably going to face similar choices, and it's kind of this whole thing about cyclical abuse, and damn, the ancient Greeks really knew how to tell relatable stories that captured the core of the human experience, despite their seemingly fantastical subject matters, and people are probably going to write a lot of, academic papers on this subject and unconsciously parallel it in their own modern stories, and, blarg, I'm going to stop being important now. And so then Zeus and his brothers got to be in charge of everything. Zeus got to rule the sky and be boss of all the other lamer gods. Poseidon got to rule the ocean, and Hades got to manage all the dead people because he was the last person to say not it. But he got to name his office after himself, so that's cool. Meanwhile, their older sister Hestia got to be in charge of campfires. And that's about it, but she's doing a great job. Their middle sister Demeter controls the weather to make plants grow and stuff, but after a messy custody battle with Hades, she started half-assing her job, and now we get snow sometimes. Zeus took a note from his old man and married his youngest sister Hera, and they had a few kids together, like Ares, god of war and bloodlust, whose hobbies include fighting things and getting his ass kicked half the time. Their other son was Hephaestus, but he was ugly and had weird-looking legs, so Hera tossed him out the window, and he landed next to 2 mermaids who adopted him and gave him Legos to play with. He got really good at building Legos, so when he was older, he decided to get payback on his mom by building her a fancy chair and secretly coating it with super glue so she would get stuck. And Zeus was like, hey, sweet prank, you can sit with the cool kids now, son. By the way, I have a really bad migraine. Could you split my skull open with an axe real quick? Sure, Dad. And out popped Athena, goddess of wisdom, fully clad in battle armor. Oh, hi, new daughter. Why were you in my head? Remember that chick you hooked up with and then you made her turn into a fly and ate? Wow, great story. Let's change the subject. I love my wife. Yeah, it turns out Zeus was quite the lady killer, and Hera wasn't a big fan of that. This one time she found a girl's number on Zeus's phone and chased her onto an island where she gave birth to 2 twins named Artemis and Apollo. Artemis thought boys were icky, so she decided to live in the forest with her friends to hunt magical animals, help deliver babies, and occasionally kill a giant or two. You know, girl stuff. Apollo, on the other hand, was quite the socialite, and he was tight with everyone. Ladies, gentlemen, goat people, oracles, sun gods, you name it. Want to chill and bang out some sick tunes? He's got you covered. Have a giant serpent problem? Apollo's your guy. Need to cure a plague or perhaps inflict one on your enemies? Say no more, compadre. Anyway, then there was this one human lady who Zeus was dating who started wondering if she was being catfished, so she was like, hey, how do I know if you're the real Zeus? So he showed her his Super Saiyan mode, which succeeded in proving his identity, but also in vaporizing her entire body, leaving their unborn fetus son wombless and exposed. So Zeus stuck him in his leg to finish baking, and once Dionysus popped out, he went to go party with his goat friends, and he invented a bunch of fun stuff like wine and dolphins and blacking out at a rave and waking up covered in sacrificial goat entrails. Hermes was another one of Zeus's kiddos, and when he was just a little bebop, he ran away from home and stole a bunch of cows from Apollo. And Apollo tracked him down and was like, hey mister, what did you do with my secret cow stash? Whoa, you're banging out some sick tunes right now, bro. Thanks, I just invented this instrument out of a turtle shell and cow guts. Freaking sick, dude. And they were best friends ever since, and also Hermes got to be the god celestial FedEx. Oh hey, remember that one time Cronus castrated his sky dad? Well, his junk landed in the ocean and it just kind of floated around for a fat minute, but then it decided to stop being a sky dong and start being Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty. And she washed up on a beach and everyone was like, damn. And then Zeus made the out-of-character move of not fornicating with the new sexy goddess lady and instead betrothed her to Hephaestus because his Lego girlfriends could only heal his loneliness for so long. But Hephaestus saw she was texting Ares a lot, so he secretly rigged up a trap in their bed and caught them during one of their bi-weekly wrestling matches, and he called in all his friends to come over and laugh at them. So yeah, those are all the major Greek gods. They spend most of their time hooking up with mortals and then usually turning them into various plants and animals, but sometimes they'll do you a solid, so always try to have a goat handy.
Oh man. Now the Greek pantheon is like the most dysfunctional pantheon. I mean, it is. I know the Greeks were like drinking a lot and partying a lot, but that pantheon is out of control. Anyway, so it like starts out with the Titans, you know, Uranus, you know, suppressing his children, and then Kronos cuts his junk off and throws it into the water or the ocean or whatever, and then usurps his throne, and then tries to eat all his children because he's afraid that they're going to do to him what they did to Uranus. And you know, it's just a crazy pantheon. Zeus, king of the gods, he's kind of like the Odin of the Greek pantheon, except a lot more hornier, a lot more selfish, and a lot more, shall we say, on the venal side. Selfish, i.e. selfish. But when it comes to Zeus, he's just a horn dog, and his wife Hera, she doesn't like that. So a lot of the situations that come out of that particular situation, the unhappy marriage between Zeus and Hera. Now she's the goddess of marriage, women, and children, and family, protector women during childbirth. But she's also Zeus's sister, and so yeah, he's married to his sister. Yeah. Anyway, but Hera's always jealous, and so a lot of stuff comes out of that. Poseidon, the brother of Zeus, he is the kind of, you know, you got Zeus in the air, Poseidon in the land and water, and then the third brother, which is Hades. Poseidon is also over water, storms, hurricanes, earthquakes. You know, he's a, you know, he's got some pretty interesting sway there. Demeter, goddess of harvest, fertility, agriculture, nature. Apollo, god of the sun, light, prophecy, philosophy, archery. Artemis, goddess, his sister, twin sister, which he didn't bang, thank gosh. But she's a goddess of the hunt, the wilderness, virginity, the moon. So he's the sun, she's the moon. Ares, god of war, violence, bloodshed, and manly virtues. The Spartans were rather fond of Ares. Athena, goddess of wisdom, handcraft, and warfare, daughter of Zeus, but she sprang from his forehead. Hephaestus, he's an interesting one. He's the blacksmith, craftsman of the gods. But he's after he was born to Hera, she didn't like the way he looked, so she tossed him. And he was raised by mermaids, and then he came back to Olympus. But he's now the craftsman of the gods. He's also deformed, and supposedly limping. So he's like the only god up in Olympus that is ordinary. But then evidently Uranus's junk created a goddess, which became Aphrodite, and so Hera wouldn't like kill her on sight. Zeus basically decided to make her or to marry her off to Hephaestus. So the ugliest god is married to the most beautiful goddess. It's interesting. If you want to write that story, that seems like a really interesting story there. So Hermes, messenger of the god of travel, commerce, and communication. He's kind of like the Flash. He's kind of like the now. Hermes is actually pretty unique. There really isn't very many parallels across pantheons of Hermes. Kind of like Balder is for Norse mythology. Hermes is kind of like for the Greek pantheon. Hestia, goddess of earth, hearth, fire, and the right ordering of every domestic sacrifice. And then you got Dionysus, god of wine, the grapevine, fertility, festivity, ecstasy, the party animal. He's the party animal. Now, Norse mythology, probably Thor would be probably close to Dionysus because Thor parties. He likes to party a lot. So, but now the Greek Pantheon is my personal favorite. I've got a character named Killhauler. This is art by Luke Stone, but I did a Mid-Journey animation. For some reason, they gave him a cape. He doesn't have a cape. It's armor, but here you go. So that is Killhauler. He is a son of Poseidon in my world, who can create hard water constructs. In other words, not hard water, but water that he could harden into constructs, kind of almost like a Green Lantern ring, except he uses water instead of light and will. But anyway, so you can use the Greek pantheon. There's also characters such as Chaos, Gaia, Tartarus, Eros, Nyx, Erebus. Now, there is a kind of an odd. Demeter's daughter Persephone is married to Hades, the god of the underworld, which is one of the three big gods. Zeus in the sky, and Poseidon in the water and land, and then underneath in the underworld is Hades. And it's like this really odd agreement between Persephone and Hades, in that she is his wife, but only part of the year. And when she goes under the ground, Demeter is sad, so coldness comes upon the world. And so that's how they basically explain the change of seasons. But that relationship is really unique. They call it the rape of Persephone, but she's not really rape. It's not really rape because she goes willingly. So, but all the paintings and everything like that have the rape of Persephone, but she's not really. It's not really rape per se. But anyway, now the third place group was the Egyptians. So help me out, Jake. Here you go. It's Egyptians. Now, Egyptians get really strange.
Hey, it would be cool if you joined my Patreon, but like no pressure or anything. Hey there, are you into mathematics, theocratic monarchies, and anthropomorphic animal characters? Well, somehow there was an entire civilization of people just like you for 3,000 years. So why don't we see what that was all about? I'm Jake, and this is Egyptian mythology. At first there was just a lot of water with some frogs and snakes swimming around and not much else going on. But then a guy named Atum decided he wanted to exist, so he hatched out of an egg and made some ground to chill out on. He started to feel a little lonely on his primordial earth mound, so he sneezed out 2 kids named Shu and Tefnut, and they all just hung out together for a while. But disaster struck one day when Shu and Tefnut slipped and fell into the water. So Atum sent out his eye to jump in and rescue them. And when they all returned safely, he was so relieved that he cried out a whole population of humans. A little while after that, Shu and Tefnut married and had 2 kids named Geb and Nut, who fell madly in love and had 4 kids of their own named Osiris, Set, Isis, and Nephthys. And that's when Shu realized that multi-generational inbreeding was a bad idea, so he took it upon himself to cockblock his kids. Anyway, remember Atum? Well, now he's a bird-headed guy named Ra. I'm not going to elaborate on why this happened because syncretism is complicated, and I'm not going to draw his, dozen other forms, okay? He's just going to be a birdman. Let's move past this. Carrying on, Ra noticed that the humans needed a little help figuring out how to function, so he decided to become the ruler of the world, and he did a pretty bang-up job establishing civilization and all that. But eventually some humans started misbehaving, which really ticked him off, so he sent out the warrior goddess Sekhmet to straighten out those delinquents. And she accomplished her objective with lightning efficiency, but then started to go a little overboard, and Ra realized his direct intervention was necessary. So he put some red food dye in a few bottles of beer and placed them within Sekhmet's line of sight. Ooh, is that the blood of my enemies? Don't mind if I do. That's some damn good blood. Oh, alright, well, I think I've done about all I can do here, so I may as well retire while I'm on top. Later, humans, you're welcome. And so Ra hung up his crown and took up sailing as a relaxing retirement hobby, along with battling giant chaos serpents in the underworld. So then Osiris got to be in charge, and his first order of business was teaching people to eat plants instead of each other. And thanks to this contribution, everyone thought he was a super awesome king, except for his jealous brother Set, who wanted to be in charge instead. So Set invited all the gods to a big party where he had laid a nefarious trap for Osiris. Hey bro, glad you could make it. You're just in time to have a go at the fit inside this precarious metal box contest. Nobody's had any luck so far, probably because they're not cool enough. Oh neat, that sounds fun. Let me take a crack at it. Whoa, look at that, it's a perfect fit. Oh, this was a nefarious trap. And then Set threw his helpless brother into the Nile to let him drown. And everyone was like, oh, okay, I guess Set gets to be in charge now, cool, whatever. Except for Isis, who was super bummed about her brother drowning to death. So she traveled in search of the metal box he was trapped in and found it inside a tree. Long story, don't ask. Most of it was copied from Greek mythology anyway. Thanks, Plutarch. Unfortunately, Isis didn't get to mourn for too long because Set came and chopped Osiris' body into several pieces and scattered them all over the place because he's a fucking douchebag. And then Isis had to go and find all of them and put Osiris back together. And she was finally able to revive him. Wow, that really sucked. Thanks for putting me back together and resurrecting me. You're welcome, but unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna last for very long. You're smelling a tad gangrenous. Aw man, well, I guess we should make the most out of our limited time together. So after a passionate 2 minutes and 17 seconds, Osiris went back to being dead. Then he had to go into the underworld to join the afterlife TSA with Anubis and Thoth. And now that his brother was permanently out of the picture, Set got to continue being king despite his exceptional douchebaggery. But little did he know, Isis was knocked up and she hid behind some papyrus plants to give birth to a kid named Horus. Horus was a feeble young lad, and he needed a lot of help from Isis and her friends so as not to die from a barrage of illnesses and attacks from venomous desert predators. But in time, he grew into a strong young man, and then finally appeared before all of the gods to challenge Set's claim to the throne. Hold on now, this is a load of malarkey. I won my kingship fair and square through deceit and treachery. Oh yeah, well I'm the son of the old king and his sister, so I'm like double royalty. Nobody can top that. What if we allowed our citizens to elect their head of state based on a ranked choice voting system? Shut up, that's stupid. So it was decided that Horus and Set would compete for the throne in a series of obscure challenges and prank wars, which led to countless wacky hijinks over the next 80-ish years that I bet a mediocre animator could make tons of entertaining YouTube videos about. Oh, by the way, have you subscribed and clicked the bell icon yet? Just wondering. In the end, it was Horus who emerged victorious and officially got to be in charge of everything. Set was pretty bummed, but he managed to land a decent job helping Ra fight that giant snake. Anyway, after 300 years of ruling, Horus said, this whole king thing didn't really live up to the hype. I'm kind of over it now, to be honest. And gave his position to Thoth, who said, hey, this is awesome. Forget all that dumb shit I said about democracy earlier. And ruled for 7,726 years. Eventually, the gods decided to let the humans have a go at being in charge of things, but only the super special holy humans, obviously. And they did a pretty okay job, I think. They made a big statue of some guy's persona, which was pretty cool, I guess. And from what I can remember, that was pretty much their most notable contribution to the world. Not much else to write home about.
Okay, that's the Egyptian pantheon. Did you catch all that? Anyway, Egyptian pantheon is kind of an amorphous mess because it's probably the Norse mythology is probably the most organized. The Greek mythology is probably the most shall we say backstabbing, kind of like drama, but when it comes to just complete chaos, the Egyptian pantheon, it's pretty much peerless. So you got Amun, chief deity united with sun god Ra is Amun-Re, often depicted as a ram or a man with a ram's head. So Amun and Ra are kind of like the same being, but different aspect or something. So Ra's the supreme god of the sun. Pharaohs claim descent from him. He's depicted as a hawk, lion, or cat. So there's a lot of animal forms in Egyptian pantheon. Anubis, guide of souls to the underworld, son of Osiris, often depicted as a jackal or a man with a jackal's head. A lot of people seem to think that Anubis is kind of like the Loki, but he's not really. Anubis is pretty much like the Hades. Isis, goddess of motherhood, fertility, magic, healing, sister and wife of Osiris. Yep, there you go again. A lot of Elon Omar going on here. But anyway, so Osiris is god of the underworld, judge of the dead, son of Geb and Nut, depicted as a mummified figure with crossed arms, holding a crook and a flail. Okay, so Osiris, you got Anubis, who's the god of the underworld, but you also have Osiris, who's also a god of the underworld, but he's kind of like in between. So he's not quite dead, he's not quite alive. He's kind of like in between. And he's married to his sister, Isis. Horus, god of the sky and kingship, son of Osiris and Isis, often represented as hawk or man with a hawk's head. He's kind of like the Thor of the Egyptian, the Egyptian pantheon, if you can, straighten that out. Ptah, it's actually Ta. It's Ptah, Ta, but with a P. Don't ask. Anyway, chief deity of Memphis, god of caps, crafts, and creations, shown as a mummified man with a skull cap and a false beard. So there's be a lot of mummy stuff going on. Seth, god of chaos, storms, and desert, brother of enemy of Osiris, portrayed as a composite creature, canine body, long snout. Seth is definitely more like the Loki. He's definitely the Loki. Hathor, goddess of love, music, fertility, and joy, also represented as a cow or a woman with cow's horns. So, yeah. Anyway, if you're going to go with the Egyptian pantheon, you got a mess on your hands. There's a lot of overlap, the powers and the authorities, and there's a lot of betrayal, ascension. This one is the child of this one, is married to this one, So the Egyptian pantheon is a little chaotic, but you can get some good stories out of it. I think especially, Horus, avenging his father, Osiris. It's kind of compelling. It's pretty much a compelling narrative there. So out of these three that we've covered so far, Norse, Egyptian, Greek, I would say that the Norse is probably the most stable pantheon. The Greek is probably the richest in storyline, but Egyptian is just metal. It's just pure metal. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on with the Egyptian pantheon. A lot of nutty stuff. But if you're leaning more towards chaos and dead walking around and things like that, then I think Egyptian might be your bag. It might be your bag. Now I have a little bonus one. The Hindu one. I didn't get any bites, but the Hindu pantheon. Now, if the Egyptian pantheon is on meth, well, the Hindu pantheon is it's probably on hallucinogens. Yeah. Now a friend of mine, known as Kami Mark, actually was going to put out a comic book with a let's see who was the main character of the comic. But kid, oh gosh, I've forgotten. I backed it, but I can't remember right off the top of my head. It's Kid Krishna. And he had a lot of this crazy stories of the Vedas in comic form that he was planning on putting out. But then life happened to him and he couldn't deliver, so he refunded everybody. One of the only people that ever has refunded me. But let me go over some of the gods. Now the Hindu gods tend to be more generic, tend to be more, universal. Like I said, if the Egyptians are on crack or on meth, the Hindus definitely on some kind of hallucinogen, mushrooms or something. They are definitely a lot more. Whole lot. Hey, Wrangler, thank you for stopping by. I know you don't stay long, but these days. But thanks for stopping by, my friend. But yeah, so this one's really unique, really kind of wacky. Let me read you some of the gods in this pantheon. Brahma, the creator god, depicted with 4 heads, symbolizing the 4 Vedas. They're pointed to the 4 cardinal directions. He's seated on a lotus. According to scriptures, Brahma created his children from his mind and thus referred as Manu Saputra. Okay. So Brahma is kind of like the Odin of a Hindu pantheon, if you can say that they're organized that way. Vishnu, preserver of the universe, known for his 10 avatars. Now he has definite form, but is limitless, transcendent, and unchanging. So, like I said, it's really hard to nail them down. Hold on one second. So I have all the pantheons in my series. Bastet and Artemis are best friends. I guess cats and hunting go together quite well. Yeah, I think Artemis. I think she's kind of like I've got the deer thing going, so I could see that happening. They're kind of similar. Anyway, so Lakshmi. I'm gonna go with Shiva. Shiva first. Shiva has many aspects. See, that's the thing about Hindu pantheon. It's just so, everybody has different aspects. Everybody has different qualities. Everybody has different personalities. They have different forms, and it's just so amorphous. It's like a mess to kind of try to organize. Kami managed to do that, but just reading it makes your head hurt. The Vedas is really, really complicated. She has the many aspects, benevolent as well as fearsome. Or he, sorry, Shiva is a he. I've heard of him being a man too, or a female too. So, but it lives. It basically just so it's a little hard to kind of describe, these Hindi gods because they don't really have a balawak. They're all have real powerful beings. Wrangler, understatement. Hindu pantheon's kind of bonkers. Yeah, it is very bonkers. But Shiva has also become the destroyer of worlds. So he's like a creator and a destroyer. As a matter of fact, Shiva basically there's a line that says, "I have become Shiva, the destroyer of worlds." That's quoted by Oppenheimer after he saw the result of his bomb. Lakshmi, goddess of wealth, prosperity, and fortune, consort to Shiva. So, sorry. Whenever Vishnu descended on the earth as an avatar, Lakshmi accompanied him as a consort. I thought she was consort of Shiva. I guess not. I don't know. I think it just change it depending on who's writing it. Varti, divine mother consort. Oh, okay. Varti is the consort of Shiva. Okay. She's a personification of the creative force that sustains the cosmos. Whatever that means. I mean, that these concepts of these people are so broad and so huge and so out there. It's really hard to wrap your brain around it. Okay, you get the idea. You get the idea. You can't really detect personality. They don't really have like storylines. It's like, well, this person did this gigantic, massive thing that it affected everybody's life. And this person did something gigantic thing that affected everybody's life. They don't really seem to have personalities. There's more like concepts than they are personalities. And so it's really, I would imagine it'd be difficult. Kali is a little schizophrenic as well. Yeah, Kali is definitely schizophrenic. That's the one with the many arms and the many faces. Yeah. I mean, it's more, it's out of all these pantheons, they're more of a religious system than they are a pantheon. And so a lot of these concepts are really broad, or they're kind of like existential. And so if you go with the pantheon, the Hindi pantheon, I mean, Kami made it work. I was really looking forward to reading it. But there's also just crazy whacked out stories of the Hindu. Loki said it best in Supernatural. She was all hands. Yeah. 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 Kind of ironically. Well, we wouldn't want all these gods to be sane. No, we wouldn't. But anyway, so reviewing so far, the Norse is like the most organized, the most kind of like sane out of all the ones. The Greek is probably the most drama, most storylines, the most visceral one. So a lot of sex going on, a lot of betrayal, a lot of stuff like that. A lot of great storylines in the Greek pantheon, also Norse as well. And the Egyptians is just it's a lot of betrayal, a lot of chaos. Like I said, if the Egyptians are on crack and meth, and just like, what the hell, people dying, people being cut up, people being spread about, people being reassembled. This person's born to this being, and so Egyptians a little bit of a mess, but there are some pretty decent storylines in there, like Horus, avenging his father, things like that. Norse stories are freaking wild. Yeah, they are. They really are. But they're human. They're a lot more human. Okay, with the with the Hindi one, the Hindi is just, if the Egyptians are kind of like on meth and crack, the Hindi are completely on speed. I mean, there's just no way. I have the Northman film. Oh, okay, cool, awesome. But yeah, so I mean, my favorite is probably the Greek. I just find it pretty rich, a rich, tapestry, and the characters are all very definitive. They have very definitive powers that you can kind of like use the Greek produced like Hercules. God Zeus has the lightning bolt, Poseidon has the trident, Hades has Cerberus, I think. But yeah, the Greek is cool, right? But and the North has got like Mjolnir, the hammer that Thor uses. It's also got the spear of Odin. It's also Odin has some cool pets. Fenrir, and Tyre, missing the hand. I mean, it's got a lot of cool imagery, a lot of cool pets, a lot of cool weaponry. Greek is very similar to that. Egyptians, they have some cool weaponry. They have some pretty cool plot lines. They have a lot of coming back from the dead, being chopped up and coming back from the dead kind of stuff. And, they can get a little muddled sometimes. So the Hindu is just wacky. Hindu, I mean, I don't know what to tell you with that. I do have another candidate I want to talk about in a little bit, but let me play my good friend Jack's last video here. This is the Mesopotamian Pantheon, and it might be crazier than all of them. So here we go.
So before heaven and earth existed, there were just the two primordial waters, Abzu and Tiamat, who also happened to be people, I guess. And the two of them mingled their waters together and had some kids. Then those kids had kids who had kids, and before you knew it, there were a whole bunch of gods making noise and stirring up the waters. And Abzu got annoyed by this and said to Tiamat, hey, our kids won't shut up and it's making it hard to sleep, so I decided I'm just gonna kill most of them. What? No, don't do that! I mean, yeah, they're annoying, but I think a gentle parenting style would be more effective. Okay. Hey, Dad, I think killing my siblings is actually a great idea. You should just do it anyway. You know what? I think I will. Thanks, Moo. I can always count on your wise counsel. And the gods heard about Abzu's nefarious plan and fell into panic. All except the cunning Enki. He chanted a spell to stun Mumu and put Abzu to sleep. Then he killed Abzu, took his crown, and built a house on top of him. He settled down there with his wife, Damkina. And in time, they had a Giga-Chad son named Marduk. Enki's father An was super jazzed upon seeing his grandson's, quote, incomprehensibly wonderful members. And so he made 4 winds, which he gave to Marduk to play with. And Marduk let him rip, stirring up the waters of Tiamat even more than before. Then everyone residing within Tiamat said, hey, remember how your husband wanted to kill most of the gods for being annoying? That might have actually been the right move. Yeah, you're probably right. I shouldn't have let them murder my husband. Let's make an army of demons. Good idea. And so, Tiamat conceived a brood of fearsome monsters in order to overthrow the gods residing within Abzu. There was a serpent, a dragon, a hairy guy, a lion guy, a dog, a scorpion guy, some storm demons, a fish guy, and a bull guy. Commanding this army was Tiamat's son Kingu, who she made her royal consort, Io, and entrusted with the Tablet of Destinies. If you have the Tablet of Destinies, that means you're in charge. When Enki heard about this, he went to his grandfather Anshar for advice. Hey, we kind of have a problem. What happened? Well, apparently Tiamat and a bunch of other gods decided they want to kill us after all. And also... Oh geez, that's bad. But to be fair, you did kill her husband and then build a house on him and then had a son who's currently tormenting her with his magic storm powers. Yeah, that's true. But I didn't know she was gonna get mad about it. It's still your problem to fix, kiddo, so go out there and set things right. You know what? You're right. I'll give Tiamat and her army of demons a piece of my mind. But I'm scared. Hey, An, get over here. So, go see if you can negotiate with Tiamat so she doesn't destroy us. Sure thing. I'm scared. Hey, wait, why don't we just send my Giga-Chad son to fight Tiamat? You called? Hey, son, how would you feel about the prospect of single-handedly vanquishing a demonic horde led by a primordial water goddess? Yeah, sounds doable, but in return, can you make me supreme ruler of the gods? Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can arrange that. So Anshar called his vizier Kaka, don't laugh, and told him to bring a message to the elder gods Lamu and Lahamu, saying, okay, so there's good news and bad news. First of all... And Enki and An were both too scared to face her, but Marduk said... And, yeah, that's the situation. So then the gods all agreed to exalt Marduk as their king, and they threw a party for him. Then he armed himself for battle and set out against the demonic horde. After a brief exchange, you suck. No, you. No, you! Tiamat fell into a blind rage and challenged Marduk to single combat. He promptly caught her in his net, filled her with wind, then shot her with an arrow, and... Okay, wow, that went a lot quicker than I expected. After this, Marduk imprisoned Tiamat's demons and all the rebellious gods who'd allied with her and took the Tablet of Destinies from Kingu. Then Marduk came up with the idea to make the world. So he butchered Tiamat's body and used half of it to create a firmament containing her waters above the earth. And he made this a heavenly sanctuary for the gods like Abzu below. And he filled it with all the celestial bodies to help keep track of time. With the second half of Tiamat's corpse, he made clouds and mountains and rivers down on earth. And for himself, Marduk planned to create the city of Babylon, where he and the other gods would go to rest and be worshipped. Wait a second, there's nobody down here to worship us. So then he had Kingu executed, and Enki used his blood to create the the first humans. What is our purpose? You work and offer sacrifices so we don't have to. Oh my god. That's the spirit. Marduk then allotted stations for the gods, with 300 residing in the heavens and another 300 down in the netherworld. Then they constructed Babylon, and each god made a shrine for themselves there. The greatest among them being Marduk's temple, where he finally sat enthroned before his divine assembly. Well, I guess everything's in order now. What to do next? Hey, I know. Why don't you all tell me how great I am for the next 15 minutes? Geez. Looks like I ran out of time, so I can't cover Tablet 7. Wow, that's too bad. Sorry, Marduk. I really wanted to list all your 50 names, but I'm not gonna do that. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, moving on. So the Mesopotamian pantheon might be the freakiest of all of them. Anyway, let me see over here. Crenshaw says Greco-Roman seems more thought out. Oh, sorry. More thought out, consistent in their character than a lot of the others in the world. Yeah, they definitely seem to be very definitive. They have their own bailiwicks, and they all have definite powers and definite responsibilities. Mexican and Mesoamerican gods are kind of complicated and confusing. Oh, yeah. Especially Aztecian gods. Have any of you got a chance to create an original pantheon for your works? No, I haven't actually. But that's I'll bring one up very shortly. Yeah, they are Crenshaw. You want to see a complicated couple? Got Titsicop, that and Quetzalcoatl. Yeah, Tezcatlipoca and Quetzalcoatl. Okay, I can say Quetzalcoatl. I can't say the other one that well. Anyway, but yeah, there it was brought up to me. Let me bring it up. Okay, there is a person who basically made his own pantheon. And it happens to be H.P. Lovecraft, and these are the elder gods that he created out of his own little brain, probably tripping out on bad rye bread. Yep. Anyway, so I'm trying to write a comic using those very gods. Yeah. I know that. What is his name? He's a writer, an artist. It escapes me. I'll come up with it later. But anyway, Cthulhu, Azathoth, Nyarlathotep, Yog-Sothoth, Shub-Niggurath, Seth. I can't pronounce that one. Anyway, the deep ones, yes, Yig, great race of Yeth, the Migu, Sithgaka, Gagwa. I don't know. Anyway, who can pronounce these things? But it's all in the Cthulhu mythos by H.P. Lovecraft. They are outer gods, great old ones, elder gods, distinct roles and origins. But they also have like a whole entire world that he created, but expanded by other people. But for the most part, it came from bad rye bread. You know, it's a rye bread with mold on it creates a poison which gives you which will basically make you trip balls. And there's been a lot of theoretical that he was tripping balls when he came up with this stuff. I believe it. I know know a little about Cthulhu. Yeah. Well, dude, same here. Well, not a comic, but still a book, right? But anyway, so there are people out there that are creating their own pantheons from scratch. But you know, there's these other pantheons you can go into. Another one that was mentioned, it was the right end. This was the right end. You can find videos on this one. But the Celts, Tolkien sure did. Yeah, Tolkien did. He did. But the Celts, they have a very distinctive pantheon. Let me read you some of them. But they you have Dagda, Irish god of protection, knowledge, and warriors. He's kind of like an Apollo, I guess. Lua, Irish god of the sun, craftsmanship. No, that's the Apollo. Lua, god of sun, craftsmanship, many skills. The god of protection, knowledge, and warriors. I guess he might be more of an Aries, I guess. The Brigid, the Irish triple goddess of fire, inspiration, healing, and smithery. So she's a goddess, triple goddess. So she's not just a goddess, she's a triple goddess. Time for a cage match. Cthulhu versus Odin. Wow. You need to bring that up to John's Lone Box. Maybe they need to do that one night. Cern Nunos, god of fertility, nature, animals, and the underworld. So I guess he's kind of like an Aphrodite, maybe a little Bacchus in there. Epona, the Gaulish goddess of horses, oxen, and fertility. Seems to be a lot of fertility gods here. I think, yeah. The Morrigan, Irish goddess of war, death, and prophecy. So she's a lot like Hela, I think. Macha, Irish mythology, goddess of war, death, and sovereignty. So I guess she's kind of like maybe like a Athena, maybe sort of like that. The Arun, Welsh god of the underworld, Hades, kind of a Hades. Welsh goddess of Aranhod, Welsh goddess of the moon, beauty, and fertility. The Cuchulainn, Cuchulainn, who's like the Irish hero, warrior god, son of Lua. He's like a Hercules. There's a lot of mythology around him. But you also have like Queen Mabe, Queen of Air and Darkness. So she's kind of like you got the Seelie court and the Unseelie court. That's more fairy. That's more like fairy. But there's a lot of we're using Cernunnos as a recurring character. He's actually best friends with Ares, a hothead, and a hippie. I dig it. But yeah, I mean, there's the Celtic lore. There's a lot of videos out there. About Celtic deities. And it's really untapped. So really untapped potential there. But like the Luwatha, the Duanan, there's a lot of gradations to the Celtic lore. And Meredith, Laura K. Hamilton's Meredith Gentry series, she uses a lot of them. Unfortunately, it's mommy porn. You have to. There's a lot of good story there, but you have to kind of wade through the sex scenes, and they're chapters long. It's usually a gangbang, so it's several chapters long. Anyway, so she's supposedly a fertility goddess or whatever, so you get what you get. But she's used a lot of these very well. She's a brilliant writer. I just wish that she wasn't into supernatural mommy porn. She's probably the progenitor of it. If you have a problem with what you see on the Barnes and Noble shelves, you can blame a lot of that on Laura K. Hamilton. She was kind of the first to do it. But she uses a lot of Celtic deities, Celtic deities, not Celtic, but Celtic deities. The sea is this, let's see if there's any I've missed. There's a lot of like So we got Morgan, Brigid, Lua, Danu. Yeah, Danu, that's the one I was mentioning. Tuatha de Danann. She's the mother goddess. She's known as the mother of Irish gods. Okay, she's the mother goddess. Yeah, she's kind of like the Hera. The Tyrannus. He's the Turon, the Celtic god of thunder. He's kind of like a Thor type characters. He's kind of a jackass. Tyrannus is definitely a jackass. The Surananos was talking about, a horned one, Lord of Wild Things. I guess that's why he's a hippie. Dagda, Celtic god, sometimes known as a good god. He's the god of the earth and leader of the Tuatha de Danann. And I am just completely, totally butchering these names. I'm aware of that, so don't come at me. All right. Rhiannon, a Celtic goddess, also a song by a rock band. What's the name of that pop band? I don't know if this is based on the same thing, but anyway. What is the name of that band? I can't remember. Anyway. But she's a goddess of the moon. Maka, or Macha, the goddess that represents life, death, and war. Yeah, they have a lot of gods that have like multiple things that they're part of, and all of them seem to have connections to fertility or war. It doesn't seem to be in between, so it's kind of like this Celtic pantheon is either about screwing or fighting, and they don't really seem to have nuance in between. So if you want to do Celtic pantheons, you got to be aware of that. It's going to be a lot of screwing and a lot of fighting, but not much beyond that. So, you know, in conclusion, I have to say that there's a lot of things in public domain. You know, if you don't feel like you're very creative as to coming up with your own things from scratch, there is a lot of lore, a lot of mythology, a lot of stuff out there that you can, that's public domain that you can just latch onto. They already have storylines. They already have mythologies. All of them mostly have established personalities, established power sets that you can use. You know, they all have interactions and personalities and, you know, and family dynamics. Some of them pretty sick. I mean, the Mesopotamian, you know, wow. Anyway, wow. No wonder there's so many, you know, very shady deities coming out of the Mesopotamians. You know, with a lot of child sacrifice and things like that, like Ashtaroth and Baal. But which might still be going on today. Could be very possibly going on today. But anyway, so you know, I just wanted to do this show tonight, just to kind of like show you a little bit of what's out there. You know, a lot of people who, you know, right now we're dealing with a dearth of creativity in the mainstream. We're dealing with people who read very little and understand even less. And they're trying to write our pop culture using IPs that they detest. And so what we're getting is basically shambling empty shells of what we used to get. And there's no life to them. There's no depth. There's no history. There's no dynamicism to what we're getting in the mainstream. And it's like when for instance, Tron Ares. Tron has a very established world, has a very distinctive world. And you didn't use Tron You didn't even talk to Bruce Boxleitner about reprising Tron. And you barely used the dude himself. Okay? You had the dude. And you used him for like a couple scenes. And you shoehorned in Jared Leto, who nobody likes. Jared Leto? Nobody. Tron Ares. You're right. Tron Ars. Okay, Tron Ars. Okay, you got me. All right. But it has a very distinctive world. It had a very distinct. It had gods and goddesses in this world. It had like a distinctive. And then the sequel to it established so many possibilities for future stories, and they threw them all out. Because the people that wrote Tron Ares wanted to create their own story and slap the Tron name on it and the Tron imagery, but it wasn't Tron. Tron movie without Tron. What kind of Mickey Mouse organization would make that movie? Yeah, well, yeah. It's the reason why Mickey Mouse now means subpar. But, that's a good example. You got established world. You got established mythology. You got established lore. And they threw all of it out. It just wanted the imagery, wanted some of the world rules, and they broke most of them. And they wanted to bring their own character out. It was an anti-hero. And they shut out all the groundwork, all that was set up by the previous movies. Same thing happened with Jedi, the Last Jedi. Threw out everything that had been established up to that point. Because some up his ass, arrogant jackass wanted to make his movie and didn't care what it did to the lore, didn't care what it did to the future of the franchise, didn't care about the characters. He just wanted to do his movie. And he did. He did his movie, and he killed Star Wars pretty much for all time. And, he's not missed a moment of sleep over it. But see, that's what's happening right now. Looks to be like the new Predator is doing the same thing. Yep. Yeah, it looks like it. Do you think guys at Wharf would take down a Yaksha? I'm not sure what a Yaksha is. You have to get back to me on that. Worf being the Klingon security officer from Star Trek Next Generation. Is that who we're talking about? Okay. I don't know. But anyway, so what I'm saying is you've got all this out here that all it takes a little bit of reading, only takes a little bit of research, and all this is in public domain, just sitting there. And you got all these characters and a lot of imagery that has already been created around these characters. Most of the time they have iconography that, okay. Yaksha is the name of the predator species. Okay. I got you. I wasn't aware of that. I don't really read a lot of it, but I didn't read the lore, so that's on me. But well, what you're seeing right now is you're seeing things being made by people who are not reading the lore. They're not paying attention to the world view or the world building, and they're missing all these opportunities, these layups, absolute layups. Okay. Tron could have been a layup. Predator movie could have been a layup, but they keep missing the layup. Why? Because they're Angel Reese. Okay. They're doing me bounds, basically. Point blank, clanking it off the rim because they don't want to entertain you. They want to create something that they can put their name on. And that's all they care about. Predator Badlands was okay, and also test screenings for the new He-Man film were positive, apparently. Okay. I'll take your word for it. I'm not sure that I'm going to see it, but I'll take your word for it. But what I'm saying is, now is the time for you to pick up your laptop, your word processor of some sort, if you want to write by hand. Look at some of these lores. Look at all this rich history. All these pantheons that have their own iconography, they have their own characters, they have their own familiar interactions, they have their own storylines, they have their own, like in some cases, in Hercules' case, all the things he went through. But they're just sitting there, waiting for anybody to pick them up and do something with them. And you go. And you see, like Tolkien took up a lot of Celtic lore and history, and he decided to create a lore for his people, the English people, because they lost the Romans had destroyed so much of their history that he didn't feel like they had a lore for the British Isles anymore, and so he set out to make it, and now there's whole entire novels based on his the lore that he created. Whole entire movements, whole entire industries based off the lore that he created. And why? Because he did a lot of reading, a lot of research. He respected the materials, and he just dreamed very vividly, put it on the page for all of us. And so you can do the same thing. If I can inspire one person to maybe pick up one of these crazy pantheons, one of these nutty stories, and do something with it. I myself have a story that I'm working on, kind of on and off, called The Idiot and the Odyssey. So maybe someday they'll see the light of day. But it is set in my expressor world, the world of community service. So it may see the light of day someday, hopefully. But it's called The Idiot and the Odyssey, and it's starring the Greek Pantheon, or my version of it. And they are screwed up, okay? Basically, it was the plot line is that the Greek Pantheon comes to a psychologist, counselor for family counseling, and he inadvertently convinces Zeus to try to reopen Olympus and rule mankind again. And so now he's got to figure out how to fix it before mankind goes at war goes to war with the gods. Or at least the powerful beings who are portraying themselves as gods. And so so this guy, he's kind of like got to fix his own screw up. And it's pretty good plot. Pretty good plot. I hope to see the light of day one of these days. It's plotted out. I just got to write it. But anyway, see, that's what I'm saying. It's wide open. Wide open. There's no excuse. The mainstream is dying, and Hollywood is empty. And with AI, becoming as accessible as it is, you can make your own stuff better than what they can do in Hollywood right now. It's wide open. It's absolutely wide open. Anyway, that's good to hear. Cruel Barab, after years of duds, it's nice to see some folks actually enjoy a flick again. We'll see. We'll see. Cruel tends to be a little bit pie in the sky, so you'll have to take that with a grain of salt. He happens to be a little Pollyannish, which is weird for a Scottish man, but he tends to be a little Pollyannish about stuff. Which you need that. You need that. But anyway, so thank you all for coming. Thank you for paying attention, and I hope I inspired somebody. I hope to pick up one of these lores, do some reading, and maybe come up with your own create. Yeah, that's it. I haven't seen it myself either, but that's what I heard. Okay. All right. Anyway. But thank you all for coming. That has been good from Telepathic Bunny Comics. Y'all have a very good Thursday night. There's plenty of shows going on right now that you can enjoy. Try to come back Saturday night with me and Cruel. Are going to talk about Nostradamus. How was he a prophet, or did he just have a lot of lucky guesses? That's what we're going to talk about come Saturday night on Cryptids and Conspiracies. So if you like me, if you like a little Cruel Barab, show up on Saturday night, 7 o'clock, and we're going to have this discussion. And it was his idea. It's his idea. So, I'm looking forward to it. Have a great night, everybody. God bless. Yes. That's prophecy for the week. All right. Anyway, thank you all for coming, and we will see you next time. Follow White Rabbit. Night, everybody.